Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for this Innovative Medicine web event. I'm Ben Ahrens, and today we're going to be speaking with Jackie Bell, who is best known for her pioneering work in natural breast health. Since 2003, Jackie Bell has been lecturing throughout New England on concepts of natural integrative medicine, the application of those concepts to breast health, and other areas of European biological medicine and thermography. Jackie's built her own network of integrative doctors and specialized practitioners who have established track records for healing patients without the use of drugs or surgery, but with these types of botanical medicines like those we're going to speak about now. Most notably, Jackie completed intensive training in European biological medicine and studied under Dr. Thomas Rau and with Dr. Daniel Beelan, world-renowned authority on European thermography, due to his extensive clinical experience and research over the past 25 plus years. So I'm very excited to have on the show today as our guest, Jackie Bell.
My experience in botanical medicine has been the learning process was really organic because as soon as I got to Montana, I studied under a Native American medicine man. So I learned how to make and use botanicals. He taught us the medicinal principles of the plants and types of uses. He said to us, I can teach you a little bit about 100 plants, or I can teach you everything there is to know about half a dozen plants that grow right here. So that's what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. Because, one plant is a very dynamic. And when you're wildcrafting and you're living in an area in the country, every plant that you need is basically right there. So whether you're in the Arizona desert area where the Native Americans were forced to live, or you're in the Northeast where we, had first, or the East Coast where it was very lush, and around the lakes where they had really plenty of everything, they learned how to adapt to their environment and make the most of the plants that grew there and learn the medicinal purposes. So, that not only, I was exposed to Native American people also from the Southwest, so I learned kind of that whole balance. And then he also taught us traditional practices, which I learned from other Native Americans too, like the sweat lodge. So I was getting, that physical aspect of learning to identify and harvest with respect and make medicines out of them, so you're physically connected and active. But we also, through that, there's a psycho-emotional experience that happens. There's a connection that happens with you and nature. And that brings in that respect for everything on the planet, that everything has a purpose here on the planet to give us life and health. And so the takeaway from that organic learning had to do with learning about plants and their purpose to heal. And then the second part of my experience for organic learning had to do with biodynamic farming. I mean, at a very young age, growing up in the Northeast, to be exposed to biodynamic farming, which is, I believe it's the most complete kind of organic farming that there is, because it's very rhythmic. You're going, of course, with the cycles of nature, but you're also connected to and paying attention to the celestial cycles. So that dynamic connection of, being connected beyond ourselves, beyond the earth, with the earth and the heavens, that also, is really complete, to experience that, put into practice the things I've learned from the Native American, because the one other aspect that it brought with an experience of farming like that on a larger scale is that beyond ourselves, we learn to have connected relationships with each other and work as a team. I mean, people can say that about sports too, but it's just very important in our growth as an individual to find out, to learn about our own dynamics, the dynamics of our soul, is that relationship with, earth and heaven, each other, and living more true to who you really are. So
Absolutely.
really encompassing.
Yeah, you've hit on a number of really good topics here, but I want to start with addressing this last one, which is the importance of the microcosm and the macrocosm, and taking into account not only content, which you brought up in the beginning. Content I'll refer to as learning about the specifics of a certain plant and its medicinal value, but also the context, which would be the location and the surroundings of where you happen to be at the time, and just the way you segued that into biodynamic farming and the efficacy of incorporating these cycles, these kind of man-made cycles of farming cycles and seeding and harvesting with the larger celestial cycles, which is something that's, of course, very in line with what we talk about a lot with innovative medicine, the importance of circadian biology and rhythm therapy and biorhythms, as well as the way that spagyric medicine is harvested. Also, the ones that we get that are sourced in Italy, everything is done completely in accordance with nature on every order of magnitude, on every different level of magnification. So for people who aren't so familiar with that type of rhythms and circadian biology, could you speak a little bit from your perspective as to why that's an important thing to take into account?
Well, I think this goes back to, again, the farming. If you can just think about having a garden and how you plant the seed and then it sprouts and it grows and the fruit comes, and then you're working the soil, and so you see that cycle and that rhythm. But our body has organic cycles too. We have sleep cycles, we have organ cycles within a 24-hour period, but we have monthly cycles. It's obvious that a woman has a monthly cycle with her menstrual cycle, but men have monthly cycles too. And then we have yearly cycles, so often in medicine, if someone goes through a trauma, say, we learn that, say someone's in a terrible car accident, for instance, we'll know that, the next day, a week later, a month later, a season later, a year later, and there's these rhythms where it's important to realize that things might come up around that, whether they're physically manifested or psycho-emotionally manifested. So we have rhythms in our lives, and we have larger rhythms. Say for a woman having, her menses for, 50 years, and then she goes out of that, but now she's in a different kind of rhythm. And so everything from our sleep rhythms, our eating patterns, our lifestyle is more balanced when we're aware of these, like you're saying, these circadian rhythms. And as far as botanicals are concerned, they are, born and raised in cycles of nature. So they bring in, and they're also connected with the earth cycles and heaven cycles. So to bring that energy into, medicine and being recognizing that it's there is really powerful. It's the difference between someone, harvesting and growing food, on a massive level with machines and chemicals and really having no respect. When you have a small organic farmer, say a CSA farm, who's got, little tribe of people helping them hand harvest everything, the energetics of the food is so different. And I think people forget that there's more to us that's invisible than is visible, and that the energetic part is extremely important. It's kind of, the power of love. It's that appreciation, that gratitude, that respect, that working on a conscious and aware level of these dynamics and connections with the earth and heaven is our opportunity to actually bring that into the medicine and into the clinic. And really where my heart is at, because when I take the experiences that I have, what I really want to do is to bring that connection to the earth and the heavens into my practice. And that's why the Spagiric remedies, some sophisticated herbals like that, are a dream come true for me, because they have all those dynamics that allows that life force in nature to flow and open up, because otherwise it's sealed within the plant's potential.
Yeah,
so,
you and I are in complete alignment here. And the way you mentioned these different cycles of life and different levels, such as, in Spagiric medicine, they're talking a lot about the 4 seasons, which is, of course, something that we closely pay attention to in farming. There's seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting, but how there are also these different seasons for life. And you made that beautiful analogy of how we have these microcycles, these monthly cycles, daily cycles, but also monthly cycles that are very apparent in women, and of course men have them too. But then we kind of migrate into a later phase of life that can be seen almost like as a fall, a spring, summer, fall, and winter aspects of our entire lives on a bigger scale. And a lot of this stuff, I just want to say for people who might be on the fence or haven't really maybe thought even about the medicinal or scientific application of these types of cycles and the validity of them, that a lot of this is really born out of observation. Because I know to many people it seems very strange to be talking about the immeasurable and the energetic, yet physicists today are, of course, agreeing that 99% of everything that exists is not, matter. It's energy, and it's coordinated and organized and crystallized by the flow of information, by that immeasurable stuff. And also that this was, born out of strict observation during times. You and I both have some experience with Native American culture, because you spent so much time in Montana, and as I mentioned, my father lives in Montana, and I had the privilege of taking a Native American survival school course there, which focused a lot on plants as food sources. So a lot of these things were just, observational, that they observed when the best time to pick things were. They were very observant of the plants, ripeness, of their quality, of their color, their texture. And then today, even a lot of this stuff is measurable. I was speaking to a friend recently who works in horticulture, wine, at a wine garden, and he said that they still use lunar cycles to determine when's the best time to pick the grapes, because they can actually measure the diameter, and on a full moon, say, the grapes will be fuller, which makes perfect sense, because as we know, the gravitation of the moon controls the tides and therefore also groundwater, and so it will draw more water, more moisture into the stalks and the grapes, and you can actually measure these things with a a ruler and see a difference. So these things have a physical difference. It's not just something that's born out of a type of alchemical mysticism. It's really born out of observation and practicality.
Right. I agree with that totally, and I think that the more we learn to tap into this and learn about these, I'll call them life forces that are within nature, there for us to use, the more we will realize the power and kind of the magic that's in there, the contained power. It's just kind of like, Manfred Junius's book on Spagirics. I love that book. And he talks about how, why hasn't anyone been able to duplicate Stradivarius's violin? And he attributes it to the fact that Stradivarius and his colleagues of the day started by going into the woods and spending time figuring out which tree, like developing a relationship with, communicating and just being with the trees to decide which tree has the wood in it for the violin. And that sort of, like I was saying, it released the life force. It opened up the life force, that communication, that connection that would be otherwise sealed in the plant's potential. And that's what I see people experiencing with these Spagiric medicines. They're having dreams that when they wake up in the morning, they're able to make life-changing decisions that otherwise they were clouded, their minds were clouded about, and their hearts were clouded about, and they couldn't see clearly to be able to decide what to do.
Isn't that
or even figure out what was wrong.
So what do you attribute that to with your understanding, with your background? How do you explain the transition of these benefits that we're talking about from a plant and then from an advanced medicine like a spagyric into the person who's taking it?
I think it's because the way that it's made. Like some people have said, "Oh, let me see the ingredients," and I'll, and I have to emphasize the ingredients are very important, but how the medicine is made is the utmost importance. And as you said, it starts in the pristine area of the Alps. Everything's done by hand in rhythms of the planet and the skies, and then you go from there as far as the way the medicine is made. Even the medicine is made according to the cycles of the moon as far as fermentation and when it's processed. So they're capturing that dynamic connection within the medicine. It's energy, and it's being connected to the medicine so that when you take it, it's connected to those life forces that we can't necessarily measure that are within us.
Right.
And I really feel that we have, our soul can be clouded over by how we think we should act and believe and behave as opposed to who we truly are. And these medicines touch those deep places in our soul and clear off those other kind of like barriers and veils that allow us to be who we really are.
It's always sort of funny to me how when it comes to medicine and science, we talk about certain things as immeasurable, and many people right there tend to tune out or discard it. Yet have no problem. The same people will have no problem, a second later talking about something like an emotion or love. And even fully knowing the biochemical impacts that anger or fear or hatred or greed or any type of emotion, or positive or negative, has in changing our entire physiology.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit of a paradigm blindness, and I think that's why it's so important for people like you and I to just remind any listeners that we observe and we experience these things in our daily life. And you made this beautiful analogy, which I love, about the Stradivarius story, which is true, that no one could replicate, even to this day, the incredible sound of a Stradivarius. And it's because he went in the forest, like you said, and chose the best tree, not with any type of, micrometer or measuring device that's available, but with his own senses and his own intuition, and that continues to be the finest measuring device that we have. One thing that makes me laugh a little bit, I remember reading an article not long ago in the New York Times, and they were talking about the development of different apps and how it can use the camera in the iPhone. And this one physician was saying, it won't be long. He estimated about 10 years time with the way things are processing until you can go into a supermarket. This is what the article said. Pick up an apple, take a picture of it on your iPhone, and the app will tell you if it's ripe or not. And I started to laugh when I read that, because I'm like, a human being has this capability instantly. You don't even need to go near the apple. Instantaneously, and that's what we call, what we're referring to as immeasurable, but really the intuition is making, billions of micro calculations based on color, based on scent, based on things that are even that we don't even know about. The fact of the matter is that they're real, they're there, and no one denies it when you pick up a piece of fruit and it smells rotten or it smells delicious.
Right. And I think, too, learning to trust yourself, just practice trusting yourself. And then you know that your intuition is right. And that's, again, tapping into that true source within you.
So what would you recommend for practitioners who might be, have practiced more conventionally at this time and want to start incorporating botanical medicine or spagyric medicine into their practice? What would you recommend as a good starting point?
I would definitely recommend to think seasonally. If you think, especially it's so easy to do here in the Northeast where our seasons are dramatic, winter, spring, summer, and fall. But where, the springtime is the cleansing and preparation for planting, it's a great time to cleanse and detoxify the body. So you would start out with those type of remedies. And then in the summer, that's when the fruit comes into fullness and we begin to harvest some of the earlier crops. So that would be a time for, eating lighter, getting plenty of exercise, very tonifying herbs that are help the organs to work better and open up the energy systems. And then in the fall, you want to prepare for winter. Again, you're going to finish the harvest and you're going to prepare the ground for the winter. So we want to do another little cleanse and boost our immune systems as we get ready for the winter. And then in the winter time, you want to spend time really nurturing and nourishing. So you want some really rich, hearty, mineralized foods and herbs, things that are going to keep your immune system balanced. This is the time for us, so it's darker, so you get a little bit more rest and paying attention to those cycles. So I think if a practitioner is curious about using botanical remedies, to just start with these seasonal ideas, and then as within each season you can learn more and go deeper to help each patient according to the individualized process that they need for their case.
Great. And are there any resources or books that you recommend that talk about these principles?
I do have, if someone really wanted a nice introduction, would be Matthew Wood's books. He has a complete guide to Old World medicine plants and New World medicine plants, the Earthwise Herbal. Matthew Wood's in California. And he also has classes, that you can take too. So going out and taking an herbal class where you're walking around and seeing the plants for yourself and talking to someone who makes medicines. It's a good idea. Yeah,
hugely important. And also I was going to mention, just resources, some of the ones that we have here and that you mentioned, like Manfred Junius's book, Spagyrics, talking a little bit more about the principles and the philosophies about these, cycles that are also just interesting reads and I think kind of mind expanding. So now on the other end of that spectrum, because of course people want to implement things quickly, do you have any recommendations for something that's a little bit more like a pharmacopoeia or just a list of different plant medicines, what their indications are and kind of how to use them?
Well, I like Claire Goodrick-Clark's book, Alchemic Medicine for the 21st Century, because it's like Manfred Junius's Spagyrics book, but it's more abbreviated. And then in the end, she lists a lot of herbs and their uses, and actually, into the salt qualities, the sulfur qualities, the planetary qualities. So you get a little bit of everything, and it's a quicker read. It's not quite as detailed, but you get all of the principles, and then you actually get the practical plant information in the end.
Yeah, it's a great kind of hybrid, and she does an amazing job of bridging that gap between the alchemical and the philosophic and the modern practical, even pharmacological kind of lines that have been drawn, just showing that a lot of this plant medicine is the direct ancestor of what's led to modern pharmacology. So there's a lot of scientific validation there for people who like that as well.
Medicine, breast health is actually a lifestyle. It's the way that you live your life within the cycles of the seasons, and it will bring you to a place of coming to know yourself more. In modern medicine, we're used to, I have an ache, I have a pain, I have a symptom or a disease, and I want a pill to make it better, just to make it go away. I don't want it anymore. But in natural medicine, coming into health is a journey of coming to know yourself more. And people who embark on this journey come to love themselves more, love other people more, clear out their closets, and feel better about being alive. And ultimately, we want people to not only accomplish that, but come to a place where they're living in a lifestyle that allows them to live more as themselves and, more of their true self than their ideal self. So once you're well, botanical medicine should be part of, if you take it as part of your lifestyle, and if the physicians can also teach this to their patients, that it's meant to be used seasonally to help us tone and cleanse and be healthier in the long run, over our lifetime.
Yeah,
so,
that's fantastic. And it's a great, shift that I think so many people have been waiting for and are ready for, from the concept of just wanting to take something and make the symptom go away, to going with the idea of what everyone really, I believe, deep down knows to be true, that they want to be back in alignment with themselves, with their bigger purpose, their bigger context of life and why they're here, and in doing so, enable their body or support their body to regain its natural function. And I think that's really something that I've learned, come to learn recently, as the essence of natural medicine and botanical medicine, is that it's aimed not to, regulate systems from the outside in, but to kind of grant, to allow the body or retrain the body to regulate its own natural functions. And I love what you said about coming into health as being a journey, which is really true. And there's a great quote that I love that says, "Health is not the destination; it's the vehicle." And it's that vehicle for the ongoing process of, as you so eloquently put it, kind of becoming who we are, and as I like to think of it, really stepping into our role in how we can best participate in this world.
So that concludes our interview on botanical medicine with Jackie Bell. And of course, for more information, you can visit us on the web at innovativemedicine.com, click on Soluna, and there you'll also see the online Soluna certification course, which is a 90-minute course and a wonderful way that you can get completely up to speed on European biological medicine, and specifically the spagyrics that we mentioned in this interview. You can also click on the resources link and find a host of additional recommended readings and further resources such as case reviews and brochures for your patients. And to keep apprised of future events like this one, then please subscribe to our mailing list. All of those resources and more can be found on innovativemedicine.com. I'm Ben Ahrens. Have a wonderful day.